How's it going there?
Good.
I was just on the phone there.
Didn't even see you. I'm with Statistics Canada,
Murray.
and
Yeah.
I'm following up on the census. We haven't received a census from this address yet,
Okay.
and it was due about 2 months ago.
Okay.
So they're getting
Yeah, I called
patient.
Census and I left a couple messages. They gave me an ID number in which they'd call me back, and they never did. So
Okay. So what's the issue?
I just wanted to know exactly what part of the census was voluntary and mandatory.
Well, it's all mandatory. It is part of the Statistics Act, and you are obligated to fill it in. Having said that, once they get certain information, they will let it slide. So, so you live here, I'm assuming?
Yes, I live here.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it all. No, you have the long form, correct? So that, yeah. So because you have the long form, they will accept some parts unanswered, because obviously people with the short form are not getting all those questions. So that's kind of the minimum you could get away with. If you have a couple of minutes, we could do that now and just get sort of the essential.
Yeah, I read the act
Right.
a while ago,
Okay.
and in my interpretation, there's what is Section 8 talks about voluntary surveys other than population and agriculture.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Statistics Act, okay, there are many other surveys that are carried out by Statistics Canada, and they are all voluntary, but the census is not. The census is the one that is mandatory for everyone.
Census of population and the census of agriculture,
Yes.
pursuant to the act, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So this is the census of population.
Okay.
And so that's the mandatory. But yeah, like even while I've been out enumerating, I'll come across people, they said, well, we just did something like a few months ago for them. And it's like, yes, I realize that they have all kinds of surveys that they do all the time. I mean, that's, I mean, the census is only every 5 years, and yet,
But census is federal too, right?
census is federal. That's correct.
And is it to residents? Like, is it limited to Canadian citizens?
No,
or
it's
what?
not limited to Canadian citizens. It's any resident, essentially, anyone.
Any person?
Any person, well, not if anyone who lives here, who is a citizen or a landed immigrant, who has a work permit, a student permit, or is a family member of any of those people and lives in Canada. So essentially the only people that are not counted are people that are here on vacation, people who are a member of the armed forces for a foreign country, people who are...
But if they live here, wouldn't that count?
No, because if they're in the armed forces for another country, then officially they are a citizen of that country, right? They would be here working, so they are not considered part of the census.
Okay, because from what I know of law,
Right,
I know that I was born in the province of BC.
right,
I don't consider myself a Canadian citizen.
okay,
Like, I don't have any documented proof that I am.
okay. Well, you have a BC birth certificate.
Yes.
BC is part of Canada.
Well, actually, it's a province. Section 92 of the
Yeah,
Constitution
it's a
talks about
province.
the separate between 91 and 92. 91 being the federal jurisdiction, 92 being the provincial jurisdiction, right?
Right.
And it's a provincial birth certificate. It's not a Canadian birth certificate, right?
Right.
You understand that, right?
Okay, but that's because vital statistics is handled by the provinces.
No, it's because the Constitution, the BNA Act, says 92 is the province's jurisdiction, which is civil disputes,
Okay.
right? Civil matters, right?
Okay, but the BNA Act is now covered by the Charter of Rights.
It's still applicable. BNA
Yeah.
Act still applies, right? Yeah.
I'm not aware.
Yeah. No, it's just I've done a little bit of research. I've
Right.
taken some law classes in school,
Right.
and this is what I called the census about.
Okay.
And it's ironic that they never called me back.
Okay.
I
yeah.
talked to two people. Both people who were on the phone didn't have
Yeah.
certain parts of the act which they could reply to.
Yeah,
So I
because-
said, "Can your supervisors please call me?" And
Right.
I've been waiting for 3 months.
Okay. Okay.
And I have a case number if you want it.
Okay.
Because the big thing is also the name.
Right.
They want a name, right? I
Yes.
understand that under common law, I don't have to give my name to
That is
anybody,
correct.
right?
We can accept the census without a name.
Well, then you just said it's mandatory.
Well, the census is mandatory.
Oh, but I cannot have a name. So that's the voluntary part I'm at. See, this
Okay.
is the
Okay.
deception that I'm kind of
Okay.
seeing. And I'm not blaming
Yeah.
you.
No,
I'm not saying you're part of it.
Yeah, no.
But when it's mandatory, it's the law.
Yeah, okay.
But wait a minute, you don't have to give your. Well, you didn't tell me that. It's because
Okay.
I knew my rights in order to
Okay.
implement that, right?
Okay.
So this is the
Yes.
interesting part.
Okay.
I'm not attacking
Okay.
you. I know
Yeah,
you're just
no,
doing your
yeah,
job.
Yeah, and I totally understand.
And I'm not
that.
here to tell you
And-
what the law
and-
is, right?
Yeah, and I totally understand. I honestly think, now you may think that, it's part of the system,
Yeah.
but I honestly think that they ask for names and birth dates because that is the easiest way to identify and make sure they haven't duplicated people.
Okay,
So
yeah.
if you have people, at the same address and stuff. So
Yeah, but my name, I know lots of different Pauls with my
Right.
same last name.
Right.
So how would they identify the different Pauls with the same
Okay,
last name
so-
without a SIN number or another piece of identification?
Okay. Well, they
right?
can't ask for a SIN number because that's
Oh, you
a
know
tax.
that.
That's
Yeah,
tax
it's tax
information.
purposes. Yeah.
So,
But what other source of information are they then?
well,
you know?
other census forms, because one of the things on the form is identifying, because a lot of people have more than one home in Canada.
Yeah.
And so we just want to make sure that, and if they do have a second home,
Yeah.
like for example, if this was only your secondary home, then I would need the address and phone number of your main residence.
But what happens if I don't want to give you my phone number? It's not required by law to give you, under common law, which governs Canada
Right.
and the provinces,
Yeah.
which is the foundation of our Canadian system. Common, and I've got case law showing
Yeah, yeah.
that citizens do not have to give any information if there's no crime or no injured party. I know this. I've even talked to cops about it.
Okay.
Cops have
Yes,
pulled me over.
yes,
They
yes,
said,
I
like,
totally-
where's
yeah.
your driver's license? Or you're
Yeah,
just walking
I
down the
totally
road.
understand that.
So-
you do have to you have to tell them who you are. You have to give them your
Who?
name. Cops.
No, you don't actually. I got case law that says it. Like, I could show you.
Okay, my understanding is you have to give them your name. You do not have to give ID to prove it.
No,
just
you don't have to.
tell
You don't
them.
have to give anything at all.
Okay, well, I've read otherwise on that.
I've helped a
But-
couple. I've
okay.
helped litigate a couple cases
Yeah.
for the Saanich police where
Okay.
police have actually pulled
Yeah.
people walking on the side of
Yeah.
the road late at night.
Yeah,
Cops
I know there was
demand
a case
this,
not that long ago down the road.
and they demand that, and they
Yeah.
arrest the people, and
Yeah.
it goes to the OPCC,
Yeah.
the Office of Complaint
Yeah.
Commissioner,
Yeah.
and I go there, and guess what? Oh, all charges are dropped.
Okay.
Why? Because they didn't have the jurisdiction to do it in the first place, although they forced their authority upon that
Yes,
person.
which certainly.
Right.
you
So
know,
what I'm
I mean,
saying is, if the
yeah.
name isn't mandatory, well, then how could my phone number be mandatory as well?
Okay.
So these are the things that I find
well-
very interesting, because I'm told that you have to fill it out. It's mandatory by law, but in your own admission, you say that I don't have to give my name
Yeah.
because it's a common law principle, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So
I think
I'll be more than happy to fill out what I believe under
Okay.
Section 8 and 31. I
Okay.
believe it's 31 or something, within my lawful excuse.
Right.
To what the law I believe
Right.
is required. I think it says
Okay.
to the best of my knowledge and belief,
yes.
whatever that means.
Well, you're.
Really,
well-
like, what's my belief of law? What's my belief
well,
of this?
that is
right?
one interesting thing about the census.
Why would they put that in there if
Yeah.
it's like if it was law, I would just say you must do it. And you must have name, must have birth certificate, must have
but,
this.
But I think
right?
anytime you sign a contract or a document or whatever, it always says, to the best of my knowledge, this information
for
is
sure,
correct.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what that is applying
Yeah.
to.
Okay, well
do-
then I don't
so-
mind doing this to the
so-
best of my knowledge, but it
Okay.
may be few and far between.
That is
And
fine.
for the record, I'm not resisting and I'm not
Yeah, okay.
withholding.
Okay,
It's,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
based on what I know
Yeah.
and based on what I believe to be true with the knowledge that I have. So
Okay,
I don't mind
and
doing that.
Yeah, just to sort of cover a couple points that you made. The reason, like I said, that we don't publicize that information about it is because we try to keep it simple. I mean, there are all kinds of exceptions all throughout the document. Oh, you can, this is what we want, but you can accept this, you can accept this, you can accept that. Just because, I mean, it's hard enough to get people to follow the basic instructions to,
Well, it's because it's very deceiving. That's the
Yeah.
first, right?
Well,
Like, I went through 12 grades of school,
right.
and not one day did I ever get taught my fundamental rights.
I know.
Because it's the government. It's not the government's job to teach us.
Yes.
our civil
yeah,
rights.
yeah,
So
I
why would
totally
they teach us our rights on this?
Well,
right?
it's not even just the rights. I'm saying, like basic instructions, like use block lettering.
But you know what that means, right? It means use capital letters. Right?
Yes, I know.
And your birth certificate spelling of your name is very different from the spelling of your name on your driver's license and on your visa and on your other ones,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And you know why that is, right? This is not,
No.
you don't know why that is? If you look in any Black's Law dictionary,
Yeah.
it talks about a thing called capitis diminutio maxima, capitis diminutio minima.
Okay.
This goes back to Roman days of
Right.
identifying, and in their days, slaves.
Right.
Slaves had capital letters,
Okay.
and free men had you've learned person, place, or thing, capital word,
Yeah.
small, right?
Yeah.
Canada's usually spelled in all caps, usually, especially
Okay.
on documents.
Yeah.
So when they say spell in block letters, they don't mean block, they mean capitalized. And to capitalize, the word
Yeah.
cap,
Yeah.
baseball cap goes on your head. Cap means of the head,
Okay.
to dominate. This is
Yeah,
like
okay.
crazy, stupid stuff that I've learned in the
Yeah,
past.
no.
But it's not. They don't say please print in block letters because they need to see it. It's because they need you. They need me to subscribe to
There.
the joinder in which my human right, my civil rights, has given up in order to be
Yeah.
part of a franchise thing.